Good morning, retail traders. Welcome to the Sneaky Snake trading strategy. We're going to try to build a watch list today. Hope everybody's had a real hot day today. Temperature is going to be 103 next week in Missouri. I live in Springfield, Missouri right now, surrounded by a bunch of lakes. Real high humid. Gets real humid here. So, I'm inside in the air conditioning right now. I'm going to sit here for a couple hours and then go out and lay by the pool. Bring me some coffee and try to create a watch list for this coming week. The reason I wanted to do this is because I feel like we're at a real critical level of support. And if we hold it, we could have a nice little run to the upside for a couple days, maybe 3, maybe have a good week for once. We've been in a pretty good sell-off. I'm going to go over the indices and we're going to talk about them. So what I think, I'm going to create a small watch list for next week, and I just want to see what you all think about how I chart them up and stocks that I watch on a daily basis, stocks that I can trade every day of the week, any day, any time, stocks that have good volatility with good cash flow. I called out the bottom. You know, there's many traders will tell you that you can't call a bottom. Many traders will tell you that you can't call a resistance. And I'm probably one of the exceptions. And I seriously mean that, because I did call the bottom and I did call the reversal to the top here in the last September, and then here last month before we even got there. I said, this is it, man. We're going to hit this shoulder line. We're going to be coming back down. So prepare your portfolio for that position for the big pullback. And more or less that's about what we got, almost straight to the penny. So at first I'm going to go over some indices. Be sure to subscribe and ring that bell. I'm just going to sit here and create a watch list for next week. We did have a real good sell-off last week in the SPY. And we started to have a good Friday. I more or less called this out. I said we're going to have a good Monday, which we had. And then the rest of the week we went poop. And then I said maybe Friday we'd probably have a green day, or at least some kind of balance of that. And that was just, you can go back and watch the video. It went over all the 4 indices that I had on there and maybe a couple other tickers. But I'm going to pull up the weekly. When you're at resistance highs or you're going at resistance lows, it's always good to pull up that weekly time frame and try to read them weekly candlesticks. I use a TTM squeeze. My trading strategy is all about chart patterns, moving averages, and being in the now. I call out squeezes every day. When I think we're getting ready to have a breakout, within 5 to 15 minutes, be in and out of that trade in that period of time. Preferably over people that will sit in stock all day long or for a week and not even make a dime on it. If it runs up, they'll hold it, and then it ends up tanking on them the next day, and then they're stuck in it. Well, I'm here to catch those knives that happen on these big stocks. That's what I do. I call them out every day. And I'm getting better and better. Well, I've always tried to catch knives and try to buy at support and try to sell them at a resistance level. But here in the last 2 years, I developed this strategy, which has enabled me to read the charts a lot better on the knife. It got me to be a little bit more patient on the trade. The strategy that I created can allow you 15 to 20 minutes after you identify the trend to get into the trade. And that's what makes it so unique compared to other strategies. And that's what I like about this. I mean, you can be real patient, and by the end of the trade, you're saying, wow, it's the setup's here. It's definitely good testing the time for it to rebounce and squeeze. So chart patterns, moving averages, and being in the now. And we're going to go ahead and look at the SPY right now off the bat. Pull up the weekly time frame, and this is what I called last week. Speaking of patterns, speaking of chart patterns, you had 3 black crows that I called back here in September of last year. These are our weekly time frames, and I said I think this could be a spot we want to keep an eye on. Big long snake, and let's see if we can break out of that channel and create some kind of rebound. And then it was off the 200 SMA, which is a good balancing act. And I use that 200 SMA in different time frames. So, the SPY, this is going to be all about recognized breakouts and recognizing patterns. So, I'll go in here and I go to my drawing tools and I'll draw in that there pattern. That's called 3 black crows. And then it bounces off the 200 for about a month, about 3 weeks. And then we have the breakout, pull back, and the boom. So that's a SPY. Well, here on the weekly time frame, I called the resistance out. There's a head and shoulders on the top. So right before we got there, we were at the 52-week high. And we were getting ready to break the 52-week high, and I needed another reference to find resistance because I felt like we were going to break that 52-week high just because of the momentum. The momentum kicked in right after that 52-week high and just kept running and running. And this is where I started getting real nervous and shook up because the run went on way too long and it was overextended. And you can hear the people talking about raising these price levels to ridiculous numbers. I mean, NVIDIA, we're going to 1500. Apple, we're going to 220. They're just shooting out these numbers at resistance levels, and I'm going, we're not ready for this yet. We need to pull back. So I pulled up that weekly time frame, and I drew me a shoulder line on this head and shoulders. And I had enough confidence to call this thing out when we were down there at the bottom. I mean, when we were at the 52-week high. I said the next resistance will be this shoulder line. This is the 52-week high right here. So that next resistance level was definitely this here shoulder line on this head and shoulders. Nobody that I can think of or looked called this trade out. I'm the only one that called it out, as far as I know. And boom, we had the pullback off that shoulder line of this head and shoulders. So I called that out, and I called that out. Now, I called the pullback out when we were up here at the shoulder line. I said we can pull back and hit, if we don't hold the 9 on this weekly time frame, we could easily pull back to the 21. And on that 21, we had this resistance level that we tried to break before that hit the 50 SMA on the weekly time frame. So I drew a trend line on that wick, and I had confirmation that we had a support here, we had support here, we had support here, and then she finally broke down and then gave up. So that became a resistance. What was support now becomes resistance. So now we've come back to what I call support, and I want to see if we can hold it off this 21 and run this back up and hit that 9 at least this coming week at 442 and try to break that. But I think we're just going to go sideways, or maybe if China's not having a good time right now. China's not having a good time. China's in bad shape. Stores are closing down. They flooded the lower peninsula to save Bangkok. They've had a bunch of rain. A lot of businesses are closing down or shutting down. They're worried too about the world geography. The world wars. They don't know if we're going to end up going to war with them or not. So I got to keep that in my back burner. Now these fat cats tried to pump this China play, and it did no good. The news came out, and there's all this real bad news. The PPI, the consumer price, I mean, the consumers are not buying. They're saving money, but they're not buying goods. So that I got to ask myself, is that going to have anything to do with another big pullback in the market? Or are we just going to go all in on the American economy, which is in the crapper to begin with? So that's why I wasn't listening to all these fat cats saying we're going to be breaking all-time highs in the market, because I just don't feel that in my bones. I still feel the inflation. I mean, I own a small business. Trash bags are up 80% cost. I mean, everything that I buy is up, and it costs me more money to run my business. And I'm not getting compensated for that increase in pay. For that increase. So I don't feel comfortable with them saying the economy is in great shape. I don't think it is. So we're going to see if we can hold this support level at 432.65 and then try to bring it up, see if we can break that resistance. And the same thing when I was looking at the SPX, I did the same kind of call, identical. Called it out here at the bottom, run it up to the inverse head and shoulders, then pulled back to the 21 SMA. So in my book, this is a solid support. And this could give us a good week, and then maybe some more bad weeks down the line. So I'm looking at this coming week in a positive manner, in probably a 60-40% bullish attitude. But I could be wrong. Momentum's hard to break, but when we're at a solid support, this is solid support. The next one's a pretty good drop. So I really would like to keep this going, or we're going to be looking at another $220 drop in this market on the SPX. The fat cats wanted a 9% correction. A lot of these stocks had 10, 15, 20% correction on them already. But, so let's just see what happens come Monday. Monday's going to be the game changer if we're bullish. IWM. Mute that, I can get loud. I got scanners and I got charts that gives me alarms when something's going off. For example, like this IWM. Got a scanner alert on here that tells me that it's bearish trend right now. And I got them off two different charts. I don't know where they are right now, so I ain't going to try to look for them. I do have a new strategy that I want to point out here to y'all. If you want to follow our room, you can watch me trade off this new strategy that I got. It's called the Ready, Set, Go. Here's a great example of NVIDIA. I got a little off subject there. This is called my Ready, Set, Go strategy. So I took NVIDIA Friday off this here strategy. And I've got the ordinary chart set up right here next door so I can see what kind of pattern that I need to get into the trade. But this is called Ready, Set, Go. It gives me the exact entry levels and the exact exits where I want to get out of the trade. So we got Ready, Set, Go. We had this knife right at open. And right down here at the bottom, it says set. Then you got your Instagram down here telling you that it's bearish, and then it's telling you to get ready. So right at approximately 9:10, what time is it? 9:10. You come over here and you look on your chart. Now those are on a 5-minute time frame. So there's 9:10 right here. You got that first green candle. Damn, I wish this thing would keep blacking out on me. You got this first green candle, and then you got that long leg doji right there. And you got this long hammer. You have 3 black crows that were formed right here, which is a very bullish pattern to me. all it's telling me is that people are getting out of the trade and the buyers will come back in. So I got my 3 black crows that turned into a hammer, a doji, and then a big old long rolling pin, engulfing candle. And then I called this thing out. I said, I'm jumping in this baby. By that time we were at the ready, and I was already ready to get into the trade. So what it does, it has its little snake breakout, pull back, and then it has its big boom. So we had ready, set, go, ready, set, go, and then go happened right at 10:10. So right at 10:10, that was right up in here. By this time I was already in the trade because I recognized the patterns. See, I had 3 black crows, the doji, and I knew that this thing was ready in my heart, because I call these trades out every day, and I usually use it in a 1 minute time frame. So if I'm in a 1 minute time frame, I'm going to draw this snake out, just like that. Then once she breaks out of the snake, I'm going to take the trade on this pullback, and that's going to be my confirmation. When it breaks out of the snake, it pulls right back to support, and then boom. So when I got in this trade, the time was right at 9:17, only 7 minutes after I was alerted on the ready. And that's on the 1 minute time frame. So I'm in this trade early, real early, catching the bottom and running it all the way up to a double top and getting out of the trade from this resistance level right up here. Pretty confident about it, you know, but knowing me, I'm getting in and out of these trades and scalping it all the way up. So I'm making probably 2-fold to what one would make 1-fold if they held on to it and waited all day long. So that's the ready, set, go strategy. I'm going to start really using this a lot in the room, calling trades out. I used to use this a lot, and I created a new strategy last year. I wanted to be a bit more self-efficient, but now that I've got the snake trade down and I've got this down, I think that's a real good combination for a winner. So we're going to look at the IWM now, and then we're going to talk about NVIDIA too. So IWM, we've got a snake break out into a big old wedge right here. This is on the weekly time frame. Man, this computer of mine just keeps blacking out today. You all probably don't see it, but my monitor, I don't know what it is. It's in and out, in and out, in and out, but I can still see it. So IWM, we're definitely at a pivot point inside of this here channel. This is a wedge out of a snake, and it's been a very stubborn wedge. If it holds support, it's going to hold that 21 on the weekly. That's the time frame, and we hit the 50, so that's very positive that we could hold these 3 black crows and then run it back up maybe to hit this resistance right here. See, it blacked out just there. Back at 188.59 here this coming week, and try to hit that 9. So I want to bounce off this here 21, which we did, and then run it up and hit that 9 this week, and maybe see what happens from there if it wants to go on up. But these here are resistance lines. This is the shoulder of a 3-headed snake right there. Hit blackout. I mean, this is happening every 20-30 seconds. This could really get on my nerves if this don't stop. Kick my computer. So that's the IWM. Man, I don't know. It's going to get on my skin if that keeps happening. Okay, the QQQ. Then we go to the 20-day. We can look at the 20-day when we're charting these things up. And we're definitely down here. I mean, a big, huge sell-off for about, what, 1, 2, 3.5 weeks? 5, 10, 15, yeah. Big, hard sell-off. So I think we definitely need to have some kind of run back up. You get this feeling when you traded. I mean, look at that. Just the daily, just a hard sell-off. 1, 2, 3 weeks straight. And I like the number 3. Go back into the library here and pull up that video on 1, 2, 3. That's all you need to know when you're trading stocks. If you can count to 3, I mean, you can make a lot of money. I'll show you how to trade that 1, 2, 3. If you follow me and subscribe and watch my videos, I point them out in every video. And if you, after you see it happen so many times, you'll say, damn, he's got something here, man. 1, 2, 3. It's easy as ABC. And I'll show you that if we start charting up some of these charts. So I think this thing's ready to bounce back up. And we're going to see here come Monday if we can take it up to this here moving average, which has a 200 EMA. Now, my moving averages, if you got a pencil and paper, I'm going to go ahead and call them out to you. This one right here is the 300 SMA. 300 SMA. We've got the 200 SMA. We've got the 200 EMA. We've got the 65 EMA. We've got the 51 EMA. We've got the 50 SMA. We've got the 9 EMA. And we have the 21 SMA. Each one of these moving averages have a particular meaning behind them. I use them all as support and resistance levels when I'm charting out. I truly rely on my moving averages with a confirmation of consolidation on my candlesticks, on a confirmation of a chart pattern. So they come in very handy. The 9 keeps me in a trade. The 200 SMA gets me in and out of trades. And that's true with all the others. The 9's the only one that keeps me in a trade. Unless I turn my back and we hit one of these other moving averages, then I say, well, this could be a support level. So let's go to the QQQ. I don't want to waste any of your time, so if anybody's on here and they feel like I'm wasting your time, we're going to go over some stocks here in a second. I just wanted to tell you a little bit about my strategy and what we're looking at here. Now, the QQQ definitely has had a real hard sell-off too, and on the daily, we broke below the 65 right here, EMA, which could bring us down here to the 200. Now, if I go to the weekly, I pull up the weekly, I can look forward to hitting that 21 and hoping that I can stay above that 21. But here on the weekly time frame, back in September when I called this trade out, I said snake, breakout, pull back, and then I said we're going to have a good year. Boom. And I scalped IWM, QQQ, mostly the SPY and the SPX on a daily. Mostly the SPY and the SPX. And the SPX is just a money maker, so I can really trade that real well without a few mishaps. But if you do get, you got to cut your losses fast because you can really get screwed if you hold on to an SPX on a downfall. So definitely, I'm going to be watching these 3 black crows. We got 3 black crows right here on a weekly time frame, which is telling me the same thing that I talked about down here on these crows. And they're just they're just everywhere. These didn't hold up very well. Go to the 20-day on it. We're down here definitely at a bottom. So there's two snakes in this. We had one right here and it broke out. Triple top, 1, 2, 3, and failed. That's when I talk about the 1, 2, 3. If it doesn't hold on a triple top, then you're in shit creek. So we can draw two snakes out here, somewhat like that. Trade it from within the channel, run it up to the 200 this week, maybe right around the 365 area, a good $10 bounce. If we break the 65, or we break this pivot point. Another way to chart this out, a little bit more accurate, is to take this snake here. A snake is nothing but a vertical channel knife. So we had 1, 2, 3, and it failed, and it came back down, created a double bottom here inside of that channel, and running back up. So in this, if it breaks this resistance level, the 50 SMA on the 1 hour time frame this week, we could probably run this thing a little bit higher. That's the 50 SMA right there, and the 51. So they're both cuddled up together right there. If we break that, I think we'll break that 65 and run it on up to the 200 right here, which would be a pretty good resistance. Here you've got a head and shoulders right here. So if you draw a price line, you got to look for patterns. Patterns is the key to how do you want to trade the stock. So you take and run that body right there to that body to that body. Send that to the right. Then I'll run right into that 200 also. So there's my confirmation of the head, the left shoulder, and then she failed the right shoulder right here. See, the right shoulder jumps up, and then it finally just sells off last week. And this is what I called. You don't want to have 2 straight weeks like this, so I think we can come up a little bit and then retest Wednesday and see if we want to have a positive week or not. Monday is going to be a good day. I'm almost positive about it. In fact, look what happened here after hours. This was a beautiful trade. You got 1, 2, 3, boom. 1, 2, 3. She runs on up. There's a symmetrical flag. I wish this computer wouldn't do this to me right now. I've never seen it do it so many times. 1, 2, 3, breakout, pull back to retest the 200, and then she runs on up. One, 2, 3, right up through there. 1, 2, 3. Now this is an inverse head and shoulders. So you come in here in the morning, you want to take this trade. Draw your inverse head and shoulders in here. You got your snake, which creates the head, breaks out, pulls back, and retests that shoulder line, and then boom. So that just, if you have the patience and the time, and you spot patterns like this, just let them come back and retest. Let them come back and retest. If you say, okay, we've got a starting of a inverse head and shoulders here, we could have a possible play. Let's follow this and see it comes back and creates that right shoulder, and then take that trade. So by the time you spotted the head, you had 3, 6, 9, 12 minutes to think about this trade. Not take it, but think about it, because in your head you're thinking, I got to make a right shoulder on this trade for it to go ahead and break out. You extend that out to the right. Boom. So you took this trade, you run it up here, and you counted to 3, and you said, I'm getting out of the trade, man. 1, 2, 3. I'm getting out of the trade. 1, 2, 3. Boom. And then you're sitting here watching it again, and you say to yourself, fuck, we're back down here to the shoulder line again. I mean, we're right back at support. So let's draw another snake in here. Man, look at the engulfing candle with a morning star right there at the bottom of that chart. That morning star. Oh my. See, I read candlesticks. This is a 1 minute. Many traders that are great know that the 1 minute time frame is a good time frame, but many traders that are rookies reject and refuse to look at the 1 minute. I never, in my life, I've never been able to understand it. I've had arguments with seasoned traders that think they know everything, and I just kind of shake my head. You know, you can't argue with somebody that wants to argue with you about. So the 1 minute, and I've used the weekly and monthly, weekly, yearly, daily, hourly, 15 minute, 5 minute, 10 minute, 1 minute. I use them all. I'm seasoned. A seasoned trader will use all time frames. So I'm going to draw this snake out right here to the next body. Nothing else. I'm not looking at anything else down here on the screen. I'm just looking at the next drop, and I'm going to draw that in. 1, 2, 3, and we're down here. Boom. Created a little head and shoulders right here. Take that trade. Came back, hit the 21, run off the 9, smack, run it all the way up till it fails the 9 and get out of the trade. That or get out at the double top right here. You've got to get out of the pattern. The chart will tell you when to get out of the trade. You either get out right here or you get out right up in here when it breaks the 9. When that 9 crosses the 21, that's an exit idea. That's why I use my moving averages. They're telling me to get out of that trade early. When that 9 seeps down, look here, not once did a body go below that 9. Then when it did, triggered. So let's go ahead and Coach Cleats, welcome to the room. Never a waste of time. That's what I want to hear. Welcome, YouTubers. Hit that like, subscribe, and make sure you ring that bell so you can get them up notifications when I'm live. Now, I am live probably till the end of the year on YouTube with a delay. You can also get into the room. I think there's a thing down there in the content where you can get into the room and join the room. And I'm on there all day long too. I've been at this for 19 years every day. You won't find a more dedicated moderator in your lifetime. I've sat here. I was one of the first chat rooms that ever came out on the internet back in 2004, 2007. We ran a chat room called the Penny Play. Then we created one called the Wise Guys, and I think I've been moderator of 7 different rooms. So let's go ahead and start on the watch list. Once you've subscribed and ring that bell, there is a little PayPal account in there if you want to donate. I try to let people that are in the room help me with a scanner, at least. I do run a scanner also. Trade ideas. Yeah. So that's on there. We're going to go ahead and talk about some stocks now. I'm going to go through about a little watch list. I got all kinds of little scans up. We'll go ahead and bring this chart back up. I got all kinds of different little scans that I've created in the past 19 years. I got a $20 to 1,000 with a 1% breakout. This stock, this one here, watch this alone can get you in and out of good trades. They got to have good volume. So I'm always, creating little watch lists. This is a scan list. We got CXS on here, CSX. Definitely had a good little run Monday morning, that's for sure. Definitely a good little pullback. Not trimming head count amid low shipping volume. So that don't sound good. Train strikes New York without a cause. Yeah, this has had a pretty good sell-off. Here we go. We got the 200 on the weekly time frame. This thing does have a nice little hammer breakout right here. But I can tell you right now, this stock, the CSX, it'd have to break the 50 SMA on the weekly to be bullish to run it up to that next level. And that's only like a buck run. I'll pull up the 20-day. We did have a breakout of the snake, so this is how I would look at this trade. If I wanted to take it, I'll draw my little channel in here, take the body of that candle to the body of that one, and then extend that out to there. We broke out of the snake, so I'd like for it to pull back and hit maybe this support level right up in here. And I'll draw a trend line, a price line, to that previous high on that previous day and call that support. And I'll set my alert right above that 50 SMA. I'm just trying to show you how to set up for a trade if it does decide to come and pull back, and I think I'm a little bullish on it. I'll set the mark at below of 30.54, and if I have something I need to chat in here, I'm just going to say, I'm going to say needs to pull back and hit the 50. On 1 hour. Now I got my alert set, and I'll wait for it to be triggered. And then in my platform, the alert will come up. Whoa. The alert will come up in this window, and I'll be able to go ahead and look at the trade and see if I want to take it or not. Right now it looks like we pulled back some here right after hours, so it'll definitely be on watch. Next one on that watch list is AMAT, AI. I've been trading AI. Now I know this thing's had a good sell-off, and I was trading this for a whole month in a channel. In this channel right here. Back and forth in here, and then we had that big sell-off to the 200. So this thing could be getting ready too. We're going to clear this chart up so I can read it. People are very bullish on this AI stuff. That's why they pumped NVIDIA to 1500. But right now that's looking to me like that could hold support and run back up here and hit this $32 area. So I'd definitely be watching AI this week. Let's pull up the weekly. The weekly's right on the 51. Now I really like that 51 EMA. When I'm talking trades and I'm scalping, or I'm looking for a support, I talk about the 51 a lot. Go to the hour time frame. We're going to draw a big snake in here. The reason I draw these in here is to know if we're ready to break out of a channel. And if we're ready to break out of the channel, that's a true signal that the stock might be on the move. So you go to your tool department, hit the body of that candle to the body of that one, run it on down. So if we break this resistance, this 65, if we break it, I think we could easily run up here and hit this number. Easily. With no hesitation at all. Why? Because we got a double top. I'm looking for a pattern. We got a double top right here. And that would be a triple. And that runs right into that 200. So let's run a price line across that. I know that that's what we're going to hit. We're going to hit that 34.32 this week. And we're going to pull back. 4 days of consolidation with a double top failed. So this thing can run back up here and hit that triple top and then find some kind of resistance, pull back, and then come up and retest that top again. And that's AI. That's how confident, with just a few lines. This is a pivot point, and this is a vertical snake knife. Once it breaks out of that channel, then you know you're bullish. As long as it stays in that channel, you can play it like a Darvis box. What is a Darvis box? A Darvis box is a pattern that goes sideways. You can trade that pattern from within, you can trade that pattern from up to it, and you can trade that pattern on the top of it back down to it. But there's different ways of trading a Darvis box. That's a horizontal pattern, that's all that is. This is just the same kind of pattern, just at a vertical stance. And you can trade that pattern in within, from one under, and from the top, and still be successful in this trade. The middle line is a pivot point in that channel. What's a pivot point? A pivot point is a decisive measurement that tells you it's either going to be bullish at resistance or it's going to be bearish and place support. That's called a pivot point. So that's AI. Here's one that was called out in the room Friday by Mike. I mean, he's one of my top-notch traders in the room, along with Magnificent, and I've got a few in there that I really count on. But here's Carvana. Now see, this has had a big long sell-off, and this is one we watched, and it came out and broke out of the snake. We're going to clean this up. So we had what, 2.5 weeks sell-off. Pretty hard to sell off. When the market is trending down, no matter what you're frickin' trading, it's going to go down with it. I had a big long speech last week. People were panic selling. I mean, people had fair enough warning to know that we were going to be pulling back as we were moving up. But we had panic. The emotions hit people when they don't recognize what kind of direction the trend is. And then when it keeps going and going and going, you're losing hundreds and thousands of dollars by not getting out of a trade when you know the trend is bearish. So you got to really know. I mean, in your heart, if you got to have a certain risk level and get out of them trades, and you can always get back in them. And you might get back in them at a better price. It's just your timing wasn't the best. So I got to kind of look at this 2 or 3 different ways. I got these 2 tops here. I could run a snake down it. And be done with that like that. And then we had the breakout of the snake right here. So this could hold. This is Carvana. I mean, this stock can really start to run. Inflation's made this company a killing. Used cars are up 30%. So you got to know the profit margin's going to be up 30% at least, because nobody was going out buying new cars. All they could afford was these used cars. And I don't even know what the average, I remember back during, I can't remember who was president. I think it might have been Obama. The average car on the road was 11 years old. 11 or 12 years old, and then they had that cash for clunkers. They thought that would sell more new cars, and it did. They also bailed out General Motors. So the government kind of more or less bailed out the unions back during the first of the Obama years. I forgot how much money General Motors got from the government, but they went BK. GM stock was at 50 cents, and I was trading that at 50 cents. I was trading it at $1.50. I was trading Ford at $1. Bank of America at $5 back then. Hog, I was trading at 9. There was a chicken company that went bankrupt, went down to 8 cents, and I run it all the way up to 5. I took Tesla, run it up to 2,200. There's a couple other stocks that I took back then and held. Bank of America, I bought at 5, sold it at 15, and then there's some. I was trading the penny stocks back then, but I swung all these. I mean, what was that one that ran to 100? It was a shipping stock. It's not on the ticker no more. GILD? No, not GILD. Some shipping stock that really got tanked. It was a real popular shipping stock, and it went from $3 to 100. And then you had Tilray, which is a pot stock that went from 20 to 300. So you had a lot of these sectors that these come out, like Bitcoin came out, ran Bitcoin. Some of the Bitcoin stocks were going 1,000, 2,000, 10,000, 20,000% on these 0.001 stocks. Then you had the marijuana sector. I got in one stock, PHOT, run it from 7 cents to 56 cents. Held it the next day. I was up like 20-some thousand dollars. Come in the next day, and insider trading comes in, and the talks and it tanks, and I wasn't able to get out of it, and end up making $1,500 on it. So yeah, I mean the sector's big. Now we've got AI. We had the EV car company. I mean, we took Nile from $1 and run it up to 60. We took AMD from 9 and run it up to 125 when COVID came. Before COVID. So COVID was another catalyst for tech to run. Zoom went to what, $400 or $500 from 100. So when you have these runs like this, they're good to just concentrate on them. And right now I'm concentrating on AI. So I'm sitting here trading NVIDIA. This has got earnings coming out this week. NVIDIA is probably going to be one of your best buys right now of all the companies that are out there. There's only one reason behind that. Because the fat cats love this company. The numbers that they're calling on this are unbelievable, and you don't want to believe them. Anything that's out of reach, do not believe. I was telling the room, I said, man, don't listen to these shit asses. They're running this stock up like a bat out of hell. I mean, it's not normal. So they all of them piled up on the stock. All of them. They all made an enormous amount of money on NVIDIA from 108 all the way up to almost $500 in a year. That's a 500% increase. That is not good. That's not good. And they've not stopped. They're coming out, oh, we're taking it to 650, man. It's going to 650. And I mean, there's fights going out on Wall Street over this guy. Jim Cramer got chewed out because he calling this thing up to 650 and it tanked back to 400. And I'm saying the same damn thing. I'm saying don't listen to these idiots because we're irrational exuberance. Any trader would know that. You get a stock that runs 500%. I mean, come on. The big gap right here, it already took what profit, I mean, it already took the earnings right there, and anything above it was irrational exuberance. So we got earnings coming out again on this, and they're going to, a chip selling in Saudi Arabia is going for $40,000. Are you serious? This company's going to be making money. So I called this pullback right here about a week ago. So this ain't going to bounce off this here support level. And boom, she ran up. I did a video on it. You can go back and watch the video. I was very, very, very ambitious about taking this trade up to the upside. This right here. This little sell-off right here. Go back and watch that video. You recognize patterns like this that it's just irrational. You get a stock it's up here at $5.55 and it drops $50 in a week. That'll wake you up. Same coming in here Friday. I didn't notice this Friday. I would have jumped on this trade real fast. I would have jumped on it. Definitely would have jumped on this trade. And I was charting it up. And I was, God dang it. So mad I didn't see this. 1, 2, 3, boom. 1, 2, 3, boom. And it created an inverse head and shoulders. I mean, this thing was set up. If I'd have seen this trade break out of that snake and pull back and hit that shoulder line, I would have took this trade in a heartbeat and held it all day long. I would have been the first one in it and maybe the last one out of it that day. Well, I probably would have got out right here, knowing me, at the double top. But yeah, it's just, the strategy is just unbelievable if you just sit there and study it. So you got the same pattern over and over. Snake, inverse head and shoulders. You got your head here, comes back and touches it, boom. Draw your trend line. So there's your head. There's your right shoulder, left shoulder, and your breakout of the snake, pulled back, created that left shoulder, boom. That's all you got to know. And you can make a ton of money in this strategy. And it's so hard to explain to people that are seasoned traders. I don't understand it. It's either they don't read charts and they go by hearsay or other fundamentals when they should be looking at the candlesticks. Because I can tell you right there to get in that trade and run that up. And this is not a cheapie. I'm going to show you exactly what happened on Friday on the SPX. This is the trade I took Friday. This is called the Lotto trade. Let's see here. It'd take me forever to get here. This was right into close at the end of the day. I'm sitting here calling this trade out. We had this snake come in, and I got over here and I looked at the my alert system, ready, set, go. And I noticed that it was starting to set up. Right here on this trade, that histogram started bouncing up, and approximately right around, oh, this was into close. I got to change this time frame. I knew something didn't look right there. So we drew this snake out right here. We created what you call an inverse head and shoulders. I call them out every day. It's the same, almost the exact same pattern every day that comes out of these snakes. It's always a shoulder, a head and shoulders in most cases. Then when it breaks out, it forms another pattern. But many times it's either a triple bottom down here at the bottom, or it's an inverse head and shoulders that pops out of this snake. Then it pops out, pulls back, and then you have your big boom. Well, I'm sitting here calling this trade out, and all of a sudden I'm reading this histogram, and approximately right around this time right here, when we popped out of that snake at 8:22, we come over here at 2:22, and right at 2:22 I was getting my ready, set, go call right here. So once you broke out of the snake and came back and started consolidating, we were at the go part. And that was approximately right at 2:26. So you go over here at 2:26, and she's more or less established the breakout. And you can jump in that trade and run it all the way up. I took this trade from 370 all the way up to 1,000 in a matter of minutes. 15 minutes. And then I took my head off the ball for a few minutes, and I came back and looked at it, and I said, damn, right at close, we came back and hit that 200 SMA, and I called it out again and made another 35 cents a contract. Got within 2 or 3 minutes, within a couple of minutes, in and out. I think it was even faster than that. Like 30 seconds, if I remember right. I got out of that trade with 35 cents. So that's the strategy, more or less. Snake, breakout, pull back, boom. So in the video we're going to be watching this week, we got earnings coming out on this trade, and I'm going to clean this up and see if we can find a support level. First, we're going to pull it to the yearly, and we bounced off that 65. So if we do pull back and hit that 65 again, that's going to be a very strong buy, and that price is going to be right around 409.12. Write that down. I don't know if we're going to make it down there, but for sure we can definitely hit this 51, and that's where you want to set your alert at, right off the 51. And that's going to be at 420.62. Why do I keep saying this? Because it happens over and over and over and over and over again. I'm that confident that that can pull back and hit that 420.82 and bounce right off that 51 on the daily time frame, break the resistance, and run up and hit that 21. And then earnings come out, boom! The fat cats get what they want. So anytime this week this stock decides to go ahead and knife like it did here, maybe hit that double bottom, high or low. So you're going to draw your snake in here maybe to get ready for this trade. Right now you're above the snake, and if you break these moving averages right here, it can easily run up to 445. Resistance level is going to be this here top. So you want to take a trend line, not a price line, from that body right there to that body and extend that out to the right. Right around 450. I see this thing going to 450 this week. NVIDIA. So you've got an inverse head and shoulders right here. You want to set your alert right above that trend line and catch it when it pulls back and hit that shoulder line. That's the shoulder. That's your left shoulder. That's your head. And this is your right shoulder. Inverse head and shoulders is probably the only pattern that you would need to know right now on a knife. Inverse. Type in inverse head and shoulders and look at all these different patterns and learn where that shoulder line is. Learn where that neckline is. That's a neckline, and these are shoulders. It's just a common pattern. I mean, every day, you'll see this every frickin' day. You've got the left shoulder and the right shoulder. The right shoulder is higher than the left. So is the neckline. When the neckline is broke, it gets retested and pulls back. Once it pulls back and hits that neckline, that's when you want to take the trade. Unless you're savvy like me and take it off the shoulder. And then run up. Boom. So you got snake. So you got your snake, break out, pull back, boom. You see the snake? Just draw your trend line right there. When it breaks out, it pulls back to that neckline, and that's when you take the trade. Snake, it breaks out of that channel, pulls back, creates the right shoulder, boom. Straight across, inverse head and shoulders. Breaks out of the shoulder line, comes back and retests. They do it every frickin' time. Every time. This trade allows you 20, 25, 30 minutes to even think about wanting to get into the trade. And that's what makes it so special. A lot of strategies, once it breaks out, they tell you to get right into the trade, and then you don't know if it's going to fail or not. Here you've got confirmation. Breakout, pull back, boom. Breakout, pull back, boom. Every one of them. Every one of them. Breakout, pull back, boom. Shoulder line. Breakout, pull back, boom. Neckline, breakout, pull back, boom. Snake, breakout, pull back, boom. There's your shoulder, your shoulder line and your neckline. So you got the snake, breakout. You not took the trade. You went in there to the kitchen, grabbed you a Valium and a shot of vodka. Then you came back. Oh, Jim, I'm at the right shoulder, man. Should I take the trade? Boom. Retest the neckline. Boom. I just love this pattern. I call it out every day, especially on the knife. Let me see if there's any questions in there. Hello, Isaiah. Does anybody have any questions in there in the YouTubers? Let's look at the sectors. Let's go over that watch list a little bit more. If I find it. Where are you tonight? We got Carvana on there, AVTR. we go. Oh, let me have a drink. Here's one that I call. I'm just trying to show you stuff that to really look for. Like, this is one that I'm probably one of my most proudest trades that I've done this year. On how I called it. So we had a big knife on rumor on HUM. The fat cats got out there on CNBC and were pouting about how much more operations were going to happen and that it was going to cost hospitals a lot more money. And I'm sitting here asking myself, what does it matter if there's going to be more operations? They were so complacent with all this money they got from COVID, these fat cats. So they didn't put the two and two together that the government, since they passed Obamacare, pays 90% of the bills that come out of the hospitals. I got my bill, I run it through my business, so I'm able to use Obamacare. If I didn't do that, my insurance would be $1,100. But going through Obamacare, I'm able to go ahead and let them pay for it, and they pay almost $1,000 out of that $1,100 every frickin' month. Goes straight to the insurance company, and I'm just one American. I'm just one out of 330 million people that are scamming what's going on right now. So the insurance companies are making a killing. More than they've ever made in their entire life. They're doing just the opposite of what they suggested they were going to do. So I'm sitting here and they're bringing this rumor in. I'm going, fuck, man, this is great. This is going to be great for the insurance company. I mean, this is going to be great for the hospitals and the insurance companies. They're going to be bringing in hands over fist money. So I called this trade out and I said, I'm going to wait for this to hit the 200 SMA and I'm going to load the boat. And I bought 45, I ended up buying 45 shares at $431 and selling it at around 496, 475 and 496 in a matter of 5 weeks by calling this trade out way early, waiting for that to hit that 200 and then running it up. And I had everybody in the world saying, don't take that trade, Jim. Don't take that trade. The charts never lie. Well, they do, but I would rely more on a chart than I would a analyst, someone that's studies, because they're all pumpers. I rely on the charts. I rely on charts more than I rely half the time on news. I mean, I get some news and I'm at a real hard sell-off. I'm at a 3-year low on a double bottom. I'm going to load the, I'm at the fear factor on the calendar. I'm going to be buying it up. And a lot of people don't use that calendar to the best of their ability. And I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. I use it every day, every week. I have let me find it here. I use this every week. I look at the market in cycles. Now, I look at the market in cycles, 3 days, 5, and 7. The fat cats look in the market, they used to look at it in 7. And I never did like the 7-day cycle. I like the 5-day cycle. Now I like the 3-day cycle. Something sells off in 3 days, I'm going to look at it. If something runs up in 3 days, I'm going to look at it to pull it back. and that's just the way I do it. So when people are very fearful and scared, nervous, and shook up, they don't know that that's probably one of the best buying opportunities to get into the trade or to start in small. People were up here greedy, and I was probably the only bear out there. I had anxiety, man. I'm saying this is way too much. I'm not going to pay $500 for NVIDIA. I mean, I'm not going to pay $200 for AMD. I mean, that's crazy after what we've been through last year. It's irrational exuberance. And then when everybody was in fear and really worried and wanting to quit, I'm yelling, no, now's the best time to be in the market. When everybody's discouraged and in dismay, it's the best time to be investing. When everybody's at the highest level of financial risk and they're greedy and they're telling you to buy. Kramer does it all the time. You hear him. He's a buy, and the stock dips. They do it every time. They're calling them out at 52-week highs. They're calling them out at 6-month highs. I'm not going to buy a stock at a 52-week high. I'm going to wait for it to pull back 9 to 10%, and I'm going to jump in the trade. I'm not going to buy it when they're saying buy. I'm going to be looking at it when they're saying sell. And I've made so much money by doing that with Kramer. He picks great stocks. Don't take me wrong, but he doesn't pick the right time. Timing is everything. I called him up, talked to him personally, 2 or 3 conversations, and argued with him. I said, no, it's pulling back, Jim. So, I'm going to look at Boeing. Airlines. Where's airlines? So we've got airlines here. I noticed that they took a pretty good hit here in the past month. And I'm going to be watching airlines. Now, gasoline prices are going up, but this is the time of year when people do a lot of traveling. They do a lot of traveling. The business people do a lot of traveling. Families go see family. They do a lot of traveling. You got holiday season coming up. So we're at the point now to where these things have pulled back good enough to where they could be a good buy this coming week. For example, this JetBlue's consolidated for 2 weeks straight. We had a consolidation here of AAL for almost 2.5 weeks straight, and then we had a little J-hook. We had pretty hard sell-off on Dow, and then UAL, which is my favorite one, 58 all the way down to 49. So that's a $9 sell. They could be ready this week. And then we got Apple. I started using the 30-day 1 hour also time frame. I used to always use the 20. So I've got all these here, the ones that I trade on AI, Microsoft, Apple, NVIDIA, and AMD. Now, AMD is a good one. We're definitely down here at a low. We had a high of 125, and it got all the way down here to 102. AMD could be a real good trade this coming week. If we break the 50 on this 1 hour, I think you can easily get $5 out of this trade. AMD. Now, you've got an inverse head and shoulders right here. Let's pull this up on a bigger chart. And I want to do Pepsi. A guy asked me last week about Pepsi, and I thought I saw something on it. So here's the daily. Well, she could come back. She could come down a little bit more. I hate to see it go below $100. I got 116 support level on it. We do have 3 black crows right here, which is bullish to me. So we're going to pull up the 30 day 1 hour. Yeah, this is good. I wish I'd caught this here. So this is what we got. We've got a snake. One, two, three, boom. So I'm going to set an alert off the 21 again. The 9 crossed the 21. That's a bullish pattern. The 9 crossed the 21 SMA. And all we got to do is break this here, these little 3 moving averages, and it's an easy run back up here to 110. Back to the 200 on the 1 hour time frame for a swing this week. Let's see if we can catch this off the 21. Type in one, see what this is. We'll make it 50. 104.50 for a idea to get in this trade come Monday. If she pulls back. If she holds the 9, we can run it all the way up to 110 AMD. I'm real hot about AMD right now. It's just very inexpensive and earnings were great. Now let's look at a few banks. I noticed my Bank of America got below 30 last week. Banks are banks it's had such a good sell-off. So I think the best way to trade these is just draw that snake out again and wait for it to break. Once it breaks, then we get bullish on it. So draw that out, that body to that body. There's your head and shoulders. Inverse head and shoulder right there. So if this breaks out of 42.89, I think you'd easily run it up here to this resistance level from the bottom of that head. That's your next resistance right there. You see, you got to look for that next resistance, and that's it. You could easily take this up to, they're inexpensive right now. You can easily take it up to this here moving average, the 200 EMA, and get out of it at 44.26. That'd be a $2 gain. I'm pretty sure this thing's going to bounce up this week. Yeah, Sammy, look how low it is on the yearly. We're down here at the bottom. There's your head right there, and there's your shoulder line. And if this connects to a shoulder, let's put a price line right there. See what that is. No, didn't take it. Also set an alert down here at 41.53. That's where we're going to put the bottom line alert. Right on the bottom of this trend line. This channel right here. Somewhere right around there. Wow. I brought it back. Did you see I right-clicked that? I accidentally erased that, and it had undo the erase thing on it, and I clicked it back up. So I'm going to set an alert right down on the bottom of that channel. See if I can't catch that Monday morning. 41.89. Yep, that's what I'm going to do. Bank of America also. It's under 30 bucks. I got two alerts down here. Let's pull up the 3-year. We got a trend line, 1, 2, 3. So right now we're off the 21 on the weekly. So that's a solid support. I think we can bounce back up and try to break the 9, which is 30.18. So I'm going to put a resistance level at that 30.18 mark at or above. And when that triggers, either I take the trade, it pulls back and hit my support of 28.66, which or I'd get in a real strong buy at 27.62. But here I'm going to do this. I'm going to put a trend line on this. This is her head right here, and here's her shoulder to that shoulder. Extend that to the right. So that's pretty solid support. Let's get rid of this and just keep that one right there, 28.66. And see if that touches that. And then I might take that trade and run it up and try to run it up to the top of this channel here and get out at 31.87. We got higher lows, which is bullish. And if we hold that support right there, I think she'll definitely come back up and try to find some resistance up in here. For sure, Bank of America. And that's on the weekly. Here's your resistance for sure, right up in here off that 200 on the 1 hour. If that busts past that, or you get out there, buy the dip, hold on to it this week and run it on up. Bank of America. Well, anybody have any tickers they want me to look at on YouTube? Any questions? Anything about what to look for when you're out of the snake? Look for a pattern. Let me show you what kind of patterns to look for. So I want you to think about this. We've got the inverse head and shoulder. You got the snake. It creates an inverse head and shoulders, and then you break out. You got a bullish flag. Say you've got a snake coming down, and she breaks out of the channel and creates a bull flag. Breakout. Then you've got the ascending triangle. Let's say you've got a big long snake right here, and she forms an ascending triangle. 1, 2, 3, boom. Let's say you've got a snake that created a head and shoulders. You know, it's bearish. You got a bear flag. You got a snake that comes up and it breaks out like that. You might have a good pullback. That's a bear flag. This one here is some kind of, you would think it's descending triangle. But if you catch it on the third bottom here, 1, 2, 3, and it breaks out the third top, it's going to run up. I want you to pay real close attention to what I'm getting ready to say. One, two, three, right? This is a descending flag. So you're coming out of the snake and you break out. All of a sudden, you hit 3 bottoms. And then you come up and you hit 3 tops. If it does not If it does not break out of that third time, 1, 2, 3. If it does not break out of that third time, get out of the trade. Don't take the risk of it knifing on you. 1, 2, 3, boom. If it does not break that third resistance, 1, 2, 3, get out of the trade or you're going to get screwed. This is one of my favorite ones out of the snake. It's called a falling wedge. If it does not break out of that third time, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and it does not break, get out of the trade. This is very bullish. If it does not get out of that third time, get out of the trade. Same thing here. Symmetrical flag. If it does not break out of that third time, get out of the trade. You got a snake with a double bottom. Now I lost my best friend a couple weeks ago because he didn't understand what I was trying to say here. You got a snake, break out, pull back to a double bottom. Boom. I made $700 on that trade and I lost my best friend. Rising wedge. You got a snake, that's a bear flag, it's going to tank. You got a snake into a symmetrical flag, this can go either way. If it doesn't break out on the third dip to the upside, get out of the trade. You got a snake with a double top, big old snake coming down here and it breaks out and it hits, pulls back and creates a double top, get out of the trade. So look for patterns. Also, when I'm looking at these breakouts, I want to look at one other thing. So when I'm trading these stocks, I'm studying these candlesticks. So I'm trying to look for what's a bearish reversal and what's a bullish reversal. See, you got 3 white soldiers. That's a bullish. I mean, they got it on the bearish side, but that's a bullish sign. But you got to learn how to play them. Well, if you get 3 white soldiers right here, you got to know it's going to pull back a little bit and then retrace. 3 white soldiers is a brilliant call because it's telling you that people are getting into the trade and it's going to run up and break out. But after 3 white soldiers, you're going to have a pullback and you're going to consolidate and then you're going to have an extension to the run. So always remember that. If you're in 3 white soldiers and it starts to pull back on you, hold it at least to that first support level and then you could jump out if you want, but eventually it's going to pull back and then it's going to create and it's going to bounce back up. Learn how to trade these dojis. Learn how to trade a spinning top when it comes out of a snake. Inverted hammer. A long lower shadow, bullish. A long upper shadow is bearish. That's on the left side over here, on the bottom left. A shooting star. You're at a high, and all of a sudden you see this candle right here. That's telling you to get out of the trade. That's called a shooting star. One candle on a 1 minute time frame, and you're out of that trade before everybody else. I call the morning star all the time. The morning star doji is a bullish pattern. I call the morning star all the time. That's what I call, I always mention it's a inverse head and shoulders. But that's a pattern with 5 or 6 candles. This is just one. You got the dragonfly doji, which is controversial here. You got the gravestone doji. See, the dragonfly usually just comes right across that top part of that long leg, and that's telling you that it's going to break out. Then you got the gravestone, which is this right here. That's exactly how it looks, which is telling you that you're out of the buyers and its sellers took over, and it could drop to the drop side. That's just candles you got to look for when you're breaking out of that snaky pattern. And once you identify them kind of reversals, you get the tweezer bottom right here. I call this out all the time. Tweezer bottom. I call that trade out a lot. You got a hammer, I call that out a lot. Just 1 minute candle that can make you hundreds of dollars. That's all you got to study is just these little candles. Copy and paste it. Copy and paste it. And learn these. You got a bullish harmonic cross. That's when you got a big engulfing candle like this, a rolling pin with a doji on the inside, a long leg doji. That's a very popular pattern, just in a 2 minute candle, or you can look at them as daily. Look at these things on daily. That'll also give you an evening doji star. It's bearish. That's when you got that doji above that other candle, and you're at the top of a trend. There's 1, 2, 3 right there. Definitely would have been one right there. So I think that's about it for me today. BURU? Yes. Oh, look at that. Did I do that for you once before? BURU. Let's look at the weekly first. When I'm analyzing the stock, I got to go straight to the news. Announce the second quarter results. Leading innovator of high power brightness. Blah, 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 blah. Today announced fiscal. Total sales 1.1 million. That's not, well, an increase of 2,000%. They must be a starter here. Announced a contract with NASA. That's a big deal. New investors are in the company. Multi-year partnership focused on 3D printing. Develops high-power precision blue light engine lasers for the metal processing of 3D printing. The company offers, 3D printing used to be a big thing when I was trading. Well, there was a couple of them, DDD and some other one. So it's been flat. We do have a gray stone doji. So that's not good. I'm going to tell you right now, we got to break the 9. If we break this 9, resistance right there. Wow, that's half price. Might have to adjust this 9 in a second. Let's go to the year. Let's go to the 20-day. We had a gravestone doji. So I'm going to say double bottom. I'm going to say set an alert right here at 47.06, and we're going to raise it up just right through that tweezer bottom, 47.47. Did I talk to you about this once before? $47.48. Let's see if this thing holds. $47.48, and resistance is going to be, for now, and we got to break 54.72. This is going to be, it's going to take probably a news catalyst to bring it up. Why Maxon Solar Technologies trading lower. That's a different company. Let's see if it's on here. Groupon. I have to watch Groupon. They're raising price target on that. Canoe. Y10. IMPP, there's a lot of interesting to them in here. I used to trade back in the day. Fudge, where's it? I'm trying to see if I can find it in here. I think there'd be that many stocks. I don't see it. I'm going to say 47.48 has to hold this week. If not, look for a double bottom to hold at 45.50, and if that don't hold, just wait for news. Resistance to break, 54.69 to 60 cents for now. But we need a catalyst. Need something to bring that volume up. You made 300%. I am very bullish on this particular stock. I was in before the 250 pop. I'm on house money. Woo, man. I think you're in good shape right here. You're definitely at support, right? What do you think, Joe? Let's see if we can break 54.69, and I think the catalyst will be to break 60 cents. Correct? Okay, well, I think that's it for me today. Didn't have too many people in here, but I'm glad you all showed up. As long as I help one soul, I'm a very happy man. Make sure you subscribe and ring that bell. You can always join the chat if you want. But I haven't been on here doing this in a long time. I used to do this every weekend. I'm going to go outside and lay out in the sun for right now. So I'm going to pull these up again. You can copy and paste these, or just type in bullish and bearish candlestick pattern, common candlestick reversal pattern. Learn them, and you'll become I guarantee 100% better. Recognize the fear in the market and the greed. When things are just out of the ordinary, like they were here just about a month ago, just abnormal, just not really. Your gut feeling will tell you if you build it up good enough. I know when I was down here in the fear factor, I had a lot of arguments with people. Nobody didn't want to believe me. But if you'd have listened to me back then, you'd be rich today. And that was just back in September. Now we're at greed. We got to be careful. When we get back down to this area again, I'll be saying things are cheap. I don't hear that no more. Things are discounted, but not cheap. There's a difference between discounted and cheap. September, cheap. August, July, expensive. And study chart patterns that lead out of that big snake, and you'll take your time, let it develop. Remember, count to 3. If it doesn't break on 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. If it doesn't break out on 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, boom. Inverse head and shoulders is a very popular pattern that I trade. Inverse head and shoulders. The falling wedge. Learn them. Double bottom, triple bottom. Learn them. And that's it. I wish everybody a great hot day. Unless it's raining where you are. What else? Oh yeah, I got one more thing. I lived in Honolulu. I worked at Pictures Plus and went up there in 2004. I was the only guy. I didn't know nobody, not a soul, but I wanted to make that trip. I've always been that kind of guy. So I got hired on by this guy, and this is when I had my six-pack stomach. I was smoking a big old stogie there, cigar. And I created a lot of good friends, and I moved back and forth. I lived in Honolulu, and I worked in Lahaina, Maui, and I'd go back and forth and do picture framing. I was a picture framer. So it was definitely a learning experience for me. I went into the warehouse, and the boss looked at me and called me on the phone here in Missouri and said, I put an application in. I said, on the computers just came out. I just had me a Gateway, bought me a new computer in 2004, and I'm sitting there looking for a job because was getting tired of where I was. I've worked there 10 years, and I always had this thing in life after 10 years, if I wasn't happy, I was going to do something different. So this guy calls me up after he gets my application, talks to me for about 20 minutes, and, well, you're hired. We'll ship you out here, ship your truck, ship your belongings. And I get in the warehouse, and the guy introduces me in front of all the employees and said, this is Jim. He's going to be the supervisor of the warehouse now, and Jim has the right to fire everybody in this room. And I just freaked out, and I looked at him, and I tried to hide my facial expressions, but after the introduction, I took him to the side, and I said, what the fuck? That's exactly what I said. I said, what are you doing sticking me in front of a bunch of big, huge Samoans and telling me that I have the right to fire them and I'm in Haoli? I said, man, that's putting me in a tight spot. And so I went back out there, and I said, I'm going to bring this to everybody's attention. Everybody looks at me like, oh shit, here it comes. He's going to fire us all. And I said, no, I had no idea that was coming, everybody. I'm only out here to help you work. I want to work with you, not against you. And then everybody took me in and loved me. And then I met, people on both islands, and I've become very fond of Lahaina. And I'm just so sad to find out what happened to my one of my favorite cities that I've ever lived in. It was a lot of fun. I mean, I was in great shape. I had girls, and it was just, I was living the life of a king. And then I got into a band wanted me to come back to Missouri and play music, and I decided to come back. And then, so I felt real hurt that a lot of my friends may be missing or not here today. So I'd just like for everybody to kind of privately pray for my friends in Hawaii, and let's hope that they have a great recovery. There's a certain thing about, I've been in a lot of places. I've lived all around the United States. I've been to Knoxville. I've lived in Oregon. I've lived in California. I've lived in Missouri. I've lived in Memphis. I've lived in Knoxville. I lived in Tennessee. I lived in Arkansas. And I never felt such a community that had so much love as I felt when I lived in Hawaii and Lahaina. So I just real sad about that. So this week's, I've already donated some. This week I'm going to donate 20% of my income that I get on trading to a fire department that's out in Lahaina that I know is going to a good cause. And I think if you go back on my Twitter, you can probably see that, or StockTwits, that foundation. I at least know the money's getting to them right now when they need it the most. Diapers, blankets, food bank. There's a lot of children that are missing that aren't being accounted for right now. All the kids were at home. Parents were out working. So it's not a real good deal. Schools were closed that day. So let's all have a great day and wish everybody love. We'll catch y'all later. Thank you, Joe. Lahaina, Hawaii. They're concerned about the government land grab and how things are conducted right now. It seems like the only help the people are getting are the locals, and it's just been a real slow process. A lot of people suffered and a lot of people died and a lot of families have been broken apart. The people just want to build the place the way they like it, not the way that the government institutions are wanting to like it. So there's going to be, it's going to be a tough road. I wish all my friends the greatest and the best in this recovery, and I will be moving out there soon to help you all, but I can't right yet. And I want to go ahead and play this song of unity and togetherness, and just love you all. You've been a great family and you still are. Let's get on.
We're gonna finish off by singing a song that is very special to the people of Lahaina. To the media, we will not be accepting questions. If you do want to have an interview after, you can talk to Ho'olea and our consulting media team to set up interviews. But at this time, we're gonna share Mele Hawaii. Marvin.
God bless the people of Hawaii.